Hello, Posh Allen here. I'm adding to the annals the newest members of the Knights of Alexandria. First, we have Greatcoat Maiden of Pain, whose favorite character from One Piece is Usopp. Next, we have Greatcoat Finlay, the King's Treasury. Also joining us, we have Melissa, Survivor of the Tower. Also joining our order, we have the enigmatic Duke John Gaunt. Who are you? Next, renowned spice trader from the neighboring desert continent of Arrakis, Duchess Evie. And also, renowned freedom fighter against Big Brother and the Thought Police, Duchess Nami. Joining the ranks of our knights, we have world-renowned allomancer, Sir Rob. And finally, reformed Sith Lord, Sir Darth Andy. The library thanks you so much for your support against the forces of the evil gatekeepers. And now we return to part 2 of the question and answer.
All right, Jeff asked some great coach questions for me. Nice. If you could recommend one book each to Falkio, Kest, and Brasti, which would you choose? All right, it's a good question. So Falkio is about justice. So what's a good justice book for Falkio? Falkio, I would recommend him read the Iliad. And I know that's weird. Falkio's about justice, but the Iliad is about, he could hopefully draw some cautionary lessons from the focus. The Iliad is about the rage, really, of Achilles. I mean, the opening lines, which I'm going to talk about in a second, are goddess sing the rage of Peleus' son Achilles. And so it's also his first canto, so he sings everything, and this epic poetry was sung powerfully. So this would be like stretches memory chops. I think it would be a perfect book for Falkio to read. So for Kest, I would probably have him read any of the Richard Sharp books by Bernard Cornwell, because Kest is the best swordsman and Sharp is not, but Sharp has this undefeatable toughness, this scrappiness, like can't be knocked down. He is the master at adapting, which Kest could probably learn a little bit about, but Sharp also strives to be the best in his particular group or situation, mostly because if he's not, he will be straight up killed.
What about the play that goes wrong?
Yes. Okay, so for Brasti's the funny guy. And all my funny books like Pratchett and Adams, they're too smart for Brasti. He's not smart enough. However, there is a play called The Play That Goes Wrong. And I don't know if you've ever seen it, you know what I'm talking about. Guys, this is the funniest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, I've never seen something funnier than The Play That Goes Wrong. It is so freaking funny. And I have the script, so I would recommend him to read that script, because there's something for everybody. Like, there's intelligent humor if that's your thing, but if not, there's so much slapstick and like the set's just falling apart. So funny. If you have, guys, there's like an 8-minute clip of it on YouTube from like an award show. Go watch it, guys. It's even funnier than that. And if you didn't find it funny, well, maybe you won't find it funny, but so funny. So that's what I'm going to recommend him. All right, Jeff's last question is, if I was a great coach, I would be the king's blank, because all the great coats are like the king's heart, the king's patience, the king's spear, the king's sword, that kind of thing. I would probably be the king's, what do you think?
Tongue.
I was thinking that too, because I talk a lot and I am good with languages. But that just sounds gross. The king's tongue.
It does sound gross. It sounds gross. Voice?
The king's voice.
That's
Nice.
Not
the
gross.
king's voice. The king's voice. I'd be the king's voice.
That's a good one.
All right, Mary again. Each of us, what's our favorite book when we were a kid under 12 years old? Go. You've got one locked and loaded.
Mine. So when Alan and I were dating, I told him about this book. It's The Wanderer by Sharon Creech. And he went and bought me a copy. So this is the one that Alan gave me. And it's about these cousins that go sailing with their dads/uncles. So it's like 3 uncles, 3 cousins. And it's just really cool. 2 of them are journaling about it. So there's 2 different perspectives. And it's just really a heartwarming story. It's about adventure. It's this coming of age story for these kids. And there's also a little bit of intrigue because I would call her the main character. I think her name's Sophie. She has a background that you don't find out about until the very, very end. So there's a little element of mystery to it as you're reading.
I have no idea. I can't remember. Like, I cannot remember. I read a bunch. I've always read a bunch. It was a dinosaur book. It was a dinosaur book, guaranteed. I had this one dinosaur book. It was pretty thick. It had a bunch of pictures. Like, there was words, but not a ton of words. It was like, you know, it's a young kid book, not a baby book, but a young kid book. It was this dinosaur book, and I used to draw in it and like write like speech bubbles over the dinosaurs' mouths because I thought it'd be funny if they like talked to each other. But it was definitely that dinosaur book. I can't remember reading any. I can't remember any of the kind of the novels I read and stuff because I was a kid before like Harry Potter and Aragon, and I read this series of books that had talking swords. And I don't remember what it was, but each book had they were seeking a different talking sword, and they had personalities. If you know what that is, like it was like I think it was for younger people. But if you know what that is, please tell me because I've never been able to find it. I forget what it was. When I was middle school, I really liked the second Shannara series. So Scions, Druid, Elfstones, and Talismans of Shannara. So I think I was slightly older than 12. The Druid of Shannara with Walker Bow, because my last name was Walker. I really liked that book. So that was slightly older than 12.
I also really like Nancy Drew.
I read some Hardy Boy. No! Thank you, you reminded me! It's Tom Swift! Tom Swift! It's Tom Swift! Guys, it was like this. It's like, if you ever seen Johnny Quest, it's kind of like that. It's like Spy Kids. He's like this like prepubescent spy, but Tom Swift is famous for what are called Tom Swifties that are like, hey, looks like you caught some blue king, he said crabbily. Do you get it? The dialogue tag references something in the dialogue. Guys, Tom Swifties are amazing. I forgot. Oh my gosh, Christine, I can't believe you reminded me of Tom Swift. I'm looking right now.
We have Googled these before.
Yeah. Oh, have we?
Yes, you've told me about them and read a whole bunch.
The pond is frozen, Tom said icily. The feather doesn't weigh much, said Tom lightly. The car won't drive itself, said Tom automatically. Some of these are great. Some of these are great. Oops, there goes my hat, said Tom off the top of his head. No? All right. I can't hear anything, said Tom deftly. I need a pencil sharpener, said Tom bluntly. This... I have a split personality, said Tom, being frank. Anyway, guys, Tom Swifties are amazing, and they originated in these Tom Swift books. And I remember there's one he shrunk down and he's like shooting an insect, like this huge giant bug with his laser gun. Anyway, Tom Swift. Thank you. Oh my gosh, you reminded me. Thank you. Tom Swift. All right, Lorena says, what are some favorite books outside the fantasy genre? Okay, I love the Sharp series, which is follows a soldier in the Napoleonic Wars. It's historical fiction. I think they are great. They're some of the best written like battle siege scenes. Oh, they're so good. And Sharp is amazing. And Obadiah Hakeswill, his foil in some of these books, is the most hateable villain, I would argue, in any book. I can't think of a villain that I hate more than Obadiah Hakeswill. I just can't. Also, I love James Clavell's Asian saga. So Shogun and its sequel Taipan, even though they're nothing alike, one is kind of like dealing with, one is kind of historical fiction about Blackthorn, which is an English captain who was stranded in Japan with soon-to-be Emperor Tokugawa. And then Taipan is a fictionalized account of these real trading houses in British Hong Kong right during the Opium War kind of period. And they're both fantastic. So those are definitely my favorite books outside of fantasy. Joanna asks, what made you decide you want to be a high school teacher? I needed a job. So I graduated high school in 2008. I was in school for 8 years. Most of those people are called doctors. It wasn't me. I graduated in December of 2008, which you'll recall is 2 months after the economic collapse of 2008. So there weren't a whole lot of jobs available. So I knew someone in dialysis, And so I worked in dialysis, and I stuck people's fistulae, and I filtered their kidneys on a machine. Oh yeah, I mean, blood doesn't bother me, but when patients are like vomiting, I'm like, nurse, someone's vomiting. God bless healthcare workers. Your sister's a healthcare worker. She's a nurse from tiny nurse, NICU.
Mm-hmm.
Healthcare is not for me. It's just not. I mean, and so I eventually left that job, and I got a job at, I was working at a news station as a production assistant, so like the graphics that you see and the cameras and the sound and stuff like that. Before it was all automated. It's all automated now, most of it. And while I was doing that, I ran into a friend from high school who said, hey, we need another Latin teacher at my school, and I know you took Latin in high school. And I'm like, I did take a lot of Latin in high school. And she's like, have you thought about teaching? I said, no. And she's like, you should think about teaching. And so I went and bought a Latin book and like looked over it and took the certification. Like, you have to pass a test, like took a Latin test. And I passed it, and then all the other tests are super easy. It's the subject matter that's hard. And so I became a teacher. And there you go. And now I love the act of teaching children. I wouldn't say I love being a teacher, but I love teaching my kids. I just don't like all of the other crap that makes my job just awful. But I do love my kids, and I love teaching my kids. So that's how I became a high school teacher. I know that's not inspiring at all. Christina, tell us about your piano music background. What?
Okay, so my dad played piano and guitar kind of by ear and sang a lot when I was growing up. So I would sometimes fall asleep hearing him just noodle around on the piano. And so I really loved music. I wanted to do what he did. And so I started asking my parents, like, hey, can I get some piano lessons? Because my friends were taking too. And I was like, I want to do that. I had to beg for a couple years before I got to take lessons. And so I started taking lessons in like 2001, I think, or 2002. So at this point I've been playing like 18, 19 years. And I just never stopped. I did not know that I wanted to study it in college. I wanted to study English. I wanted to be a writer. And but I picked my school based on scholarship money. So when I got there, I thought, okay, I'm going to major in English, minor in music. Well, they didn't offer a music minor, so it was all or nothing. It was double major or give it up. And I thought, well, I'll try a double major. And then after 2 years of that, I was like, this is too hard. I need to pick one. And I had invested so much more time and energy into practicing than I had into my English degree. I flip-flopped entirely. I majored in music and minored in English, and that was the end of that.
But then you went to grad school for it too.
Yeah, I did. I got my bachelor's degree, and there's not a lot of full-time jobs for people that have bachelors in piano performance. So, and I also felt my higher education, watch is going off. My higher education, I felt like it just showed me how little I knew, how much there was to know, and pointed me to resources to learn more. So I did not feel ready to step into the world of being a full-time adult, and I wanted more school, so I went and got a master's degree in piano performance and pedagogy, because by that time, similar to you just needing a job, I needed a summer job. I tried teaching piano, and I realized, hey, I like this. I'm decently good at this. I think I could do this forever. So I studied how to teach, and in Oklahoma, got my master's, and now I teach piano full time. The end.
Okay, next we have AEVK Books. I hope that's right. Asks, what historical period, however broadly or specific, would you want to live in that is not post-World War I and that is not within your specialty or wheelhouse? He trapped me. So, that's fine. Post-World War I, I'm not super interested in those historical time periods, but not within my specialty or wheelhouse, so it cannot be ancient Greece or ancient Rome. Unfortunate. Okay, what historical period would I want to live in?
Do you want to be a samurai?
Yes! Wait, that's my wheelhouse. Dang it.
Is that your wheelhouse?
I mean, yes, like my degrees in Japanese politics and some history.
I know that.
I mean, I just told them. Yeah, I've said it before.
Cut it out.
I've said it before. Okay, if I cannot say Rome, Greece, or Japan, those periods, I will choose. You know what? I'm going to choose. No, I'm going to choose Revolutionary Era America, because I would like to think that I could have been on. I would have liked to have been on the Continental Congress. And the second one, where the Declaration was formed, like again, like I was probably a peasant. I probably couldn't even read. But if I could, I would want to see Adams. I love John Adams, y'all. I love John Adams. And Franklin and Jefferson. But you know, just the great minds in the Continental Congress. You know, just seeing how the country was formed. If not, then I pick revolutionary France, because I was probably born to be a revolutionary, and I would have gladly found some bourgeois nobles and dragged them to the guillotine. Here we go, just tear it down, set everything ablaze. I'd have been Robespierre's right hand. That's probably not true. He's probably mean. I'm not violent in real life.
That's true.
They also ask, who is an author whose works you've never had any desire to read other than Sarah J. Maas, and why? Okay, so authors' works I've never had really any desire to read. I'll try to pick someone popular. Who do I not want to read? The other Faye series, Holly Black, but I mean, I don't know if you consider that too close to SJM. Stephanie Meyer, definitely. Cassandra Clare. For sure, Cassandra Clare. For sure. I remember when she was writing Harry Potter fan fiction on fanfiction.net, and she was really mean to people. So
Aww.
She was. Cassie Clare, as you want to bet at the time. She was not nice to my friends who wrote Harry Potter fan fiction. Fun fact. And for Christina, what's one of Christina's favorite books that I've read and liked, or that I haven't read? So I haven't read The Wanderers, which she talked about just a second ago. Or she talked about before. I haven't read The Wanderers. I also haven't. What other favorite books do you have? Anne of Green Gables. Haven't read that either. So there you go. Next, all right, Alicia. What's your favorite holiday seasonal tradition that both you and Christina love? So, we love putting up the tree, because I really like the way the house looks when the lights are off, but the tree lights are on. Because we don't do one thing of lights. We do 3 things of lights on the tree.
Like 1,000 lights.
Yeah, seriously. We literally had to take some off because we were overloading the circuit and it was shorting out the lights on the tree. But really, my favorite holiday tradition, I never really enjoyed the holidays, me personally, because my family can be a drag, but I love hanging out with her family at Thanksgiving and Christmas. So they reverse. Either on Thanksgiving or Christmas, we go to either her mom's families or her dad's families. And her mom's family, the whole family gets together, and there's people like sleeping on couches and on the ground, and all the beds are taken. Like, the whole family's there. And the same thing happens with the other side of her family in Orlando. So I really like just the big family get-togethers at the holidays. And you do too, right?
Mm-hmm. And Christmas PJs.
And on Christmas morning, my mom and stepdad are always here on Christmas morning, and we go over to my brother's house with my sister-in-law and my nephews, and my mom and stepdad, and we all wear Christmas pajamas and open.
We get matching Christmas PJs.
That's true, we do. Matching Christmas jammies.
Probably one of the cheesiest things we do.
All right, Katrina says, for both of us, who's a book character you have related to the most, other than Tao, Alan? I don't relate to Tao, Katrina. I hate Tao. Tao's the worst.
Be nice to Katrina.
I love Katrina. She's super nice. Thomas Senlin, because he's a school teacher, and he's an older protagonist, and his wife likes fun way more than he does, which is true about me, is kind of stubborn in his refusal to accept how things are and prefers to see things how they should be. So Thomas Senlin for sure, but also Falchio from The Greatcoats, because Falchio has justice and can't let go of it, and that is also me. What about you?
Does it say the most or just related?
The most.
That's so hard. I don't know about the most. I mean, I can think of some, but I don't know that any one of them are like the most. The one that comes to mind right now, I think partly because it's so fresh. I just finished reading The Kingdom of Back, and the main character, Nannerl, who is Mozart's older sister, she is talented, plays piano. She also wants to compose. She does compose. And she's frustrated because she doesn't feel like she's getting a lot of support, particularly from her father, and she kind of feels like she's under the shadow of her brother. So to some extent, I definitely relate to that, because I think we all have this desire to be remembered and to excel and to be recognized for who we are and for the work and the effort that we put forth. And I think we all at times have felt frustrated and overlooked and kind of invisible or in the shadow of somebody else who may be more talented or may just have a louder voice. So I think probably she's the freshest on my mind. So Nannerl from The Kingdom of Back.
Right on. For me, what's the most memorable or funny thing that's happened to you as a teacher? Funny things don't happen to me as a teacher. Well, the most memorable thing as a teacher is because I'm a teacher, I've been able to take trips with some kids to really various places. We go to a Latin convention, a state Latin convention in Orlando. Part of the reason that this is memorable to me is because I went to the same convention when I was in high school, and it was chaperoned by my dad. My dad would be one of the chaperones. Now I am the chaperone at the same convention that I went to, 20 years ago. Longer than 20 years ago, 22 years ago or whatever. Also, I've gotten to take kids to Rome, and it is getting to see Rome and feeling and breathing in the history, feeling the weight of history of the Romans, and just seeing the architectural marvels. I love Rome. Like being there, getting to see everything. When we get the free days, we're off the tour, even more amazing because I get to see the stuff that isn't on the tour. So there's not a ton of tourists, and a lot of stuff's even cooler. The Colosseum's awesome, that's fine, but I want to go see the Baths of Caracalla, the Baths of Diocletian. Let us go see the Circus Maximus. So I've gotten to take kids to Rome and really spend some time with them outside of the classroom, and getting to. Like, I'm more excitable than they are. I'm faster than they are. I have more energy than they do. They're so slow. They complain about how hot it is. But, like, getting to share that is really, really cool, especially when they start asking our guides questions. You get to see that they actually do find what I teach interesting sometimes. So that's probably the most memorable thing. I also hold gladiator fights and chariot races every year, which is also pretty memorable, too. But otherwise, I have good kids. No, things that come out of nowhere that are super funny. I run a tight ship.
What about when you went in the chariot race?
Yeah, when I chariot race, I fall out like it's wagons, and I'm bad at them. I lose all the gladiator fights and the chariot races. I'm terrible. The professor, Philip Chase, says, please recite something for us in Latin. Not a question, but a request, and I hope you'll be amenable. Personally, I'd love to hear a bit of the Aeneid, but you pick. As a follow-up, please tell us a teaching story. I'll start with a teaching story. There's this one kid who graduated last year who, came in as this freshman, and this kid was an encyclopedia of Roman knowledge, just Roman history knowledge. And I got to see this kid, and he's so socially just prickly. He just says mean things to his classmates and just is always I'm smarter than you. So it's kind of insufferable. But this kid, getting to teach this kid for 4 years and watch him go from freshman to senior and get to continue filling because he didn't know everything. He wanted to be smarter than me for sure. But seeing this kid kind of become the mascot of my Latin program, really, because he just loved everything we did in class and everything. He was just so gung-ho about Kurtamen and Quiz Bowl. One of the most fun things I get to do as a teacher is when we practice for competition, we have what's called Kurtamen, which is Latin Quiz Bowl. And there's teams of kids and they answer questions about Greek mythology and ancient Rome and history and also Latin grammar, vocab, culture, that kind of stuff. And it's super competitive. And my team, my guys always do really, really well at the regional regional and state. And I really love doing that. And he just took to it like I don't know, like someone takes to something else. And he ended up being on the national Kurtamen team one year for Florida. He was on Florida's team as the guy who answers the history questions. And so this kid was just really reminds me why I teach, because someone can really care about what you do and you can just kind of have a really good rapport with a kid like this. And so I love that kid. He's graduated now. It's his first year as a college student, and classes aren't the same without me being like, hey, quiet. So that's my teaching story. For the other ones, okay, Philip, all right. So I don't actually have a bunch of the Aeneid memorized, mostly because I don't teach the Aeneid very often. I've taught it twice. But I don't teach AP Latin anymore. So I can say, Arma warumque cano. That's the opening lines. So I will do some Latin for you. This is a piece that I memorized back at the competition I was just talking about. I don't remember the whole thing, but I do remember the first paragraph and that I went to competition with. And it's about Hannibal being enraged. So I will do this one because I still remember it from high school. It's bizarre. So, Gemanes aquix lacrimas retenanes legatorum verba Hannibal audivit. Postquam mandata edita sunt, vicet Hannibalem inquit. Non populus Romanus sed senatus Carthaginiensis obtrectatione atque invidia, neque hoc de decore reditus mei tam Publius Scipio exultabit. Quam Hanno. So that's about Hannibal. He's mad because it wasn't the Roman army, but it was stupid Publius. No, it's not Publius Scipio. They're bowing. The Carthaginian Senate is bowing to Scipio, which is dumb. I also, since I couldn't give you the opening of the Aeneid, I will give you the opening of an Iliad, because I do a one-man show by Dennis O'Hare from True Blood.
It's
probably where everybody. It's probably where everybody knows him from. And I haven't been able to do it in like 2 years, but I used to do it around the town, and like the theater company here would like let me do it there and stuff, but I haven't done it in forever, so I'm going to try to remember it. But the opening is in ancient Greek. Please forgive my pronunciation. I never took Greek, so I did the best I could with my research online trying to figure out how to pronounce this. So this is the best I got. But this is the opening of the Aeneid. Of the Iliad, sorry. So Meninaedethe apeleia dio Achilleos Solomen hemuria kai oisarge eteke polas diftimusu kasai di proiapsen heron, and then it cuts off because it means rage. Goddess, sing the rage of Peleus' son Achilles, murderous doom that cost the Achaeans countless losses, hurling down to the house of death so many sturdy souls, great fighters' souls, but made their bodies carrion, feast for the dogs and birds. That's what that is, but in Greek. And my wife told you that I Christmas carol, so every year I make my Latin kids Christmas carol, and we go around the school singing Christmas carols in Latin. Here's my favorite one, which is God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen. Are you ready? Salve te laeti come tes nihil vos terreat, nam Jesus Christus natus estut omnes radebat. Et in Satanae semetas errantis reducat, o nuntiam gratissimum, o nuntiam gratissimum. There you go, Philip. So Latin, Greek, Latin singing. Boosh. That's the professor. He's the best. Well, guys, once again, we have run long, and so this is the end of Q&A part 2. We will return at some point with part 3. Thanks, guys, for watching. I'm Alan, and this is my wonderful wife,
Christina.
And we will see you next time.